The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Outlaw Modified Series, or should I say the Bootleg Racing League Outlaw Modified Series here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. I am Gary Weaver with Andrew Cardinelli as the co-commentator here, and Corey Silva over there in the production booth pushing the buttons to help you see the picture that you see as of right now. This is the second to last race of the season, and of course next week we head to New Smyrna, but first we have to get through the Lanier Raceplex. And Andrew, I'm pretty sure this race is going to be very, very interesting. 100 laps, going to be amazing.
Yeah, these guys are always really tough on each other on these short tracks and these modifieds, but it's a lot of fun to watch, a lot of clean racing, and even when you get kind of caution laden in these races, Gary, it's very entertaining to watch. It doesn't really bog the race down at all. It's still a very dynamic race they have going on, and right now as practice finishes up, it's looking like it's going to be a pretty good race. Lap time is down in the 12-second range as Charles Larr gets down there at a 12.997.
Yeah, so relatively have about pretty much the entire field within 3/10 or so of each other, so it's going to be a quite interesting race. And like you mentioned, dynamics, well, they just came off of a new build in the process as well, just this past Tuesday, if you will. And one thing that I noticed actually at this track is that there are a lot of marbles on the high side. The track has very high usage, so that could also be playing a factor into tonight's race in the process.
Yeah, you know, if someone gets shuffled out into that higher line, it's certainly going to impact the grip they can get up there. And it's really just a product of running a lot of laps at a short track like this. You get into the corners, really high velocity, and you just wear up a lot of your tire. And another big thing is they came into this race and had no marbles cleaned off the track, and it was set at a high usage to start the race off. So it's just part of it, and I think it produces a pretty good, I guess, scene when it actually gets going.
Yeah, this race is definitely, or at least the track usage, I should say, is going to be producing quite exciting racing, possibly a little bit more grip. It also is nighttime to add to that fact, so it's going to be very, again, just an interesting race. Still something like a broken record, but that's pretty much what this race is expected to be like. So about less than a minute left in practice, 55 seconds to be exact. Nope, scratch that, I can't count. 43 seconds and counting down. And ultimately, also, just to remind everybody that the top 10 finishers from last week's race will be inverted. So, since Lowell Jewell won last week, he will be starting in pretty much the number 10 position. But I assume that he may be able to make his way back up at least in the top 3 by the end of the night.
Yeah, these guys may start in the back when they do well the previous week, but normally if you're doing well, you have a pretty good shot at working through the field. The only downside is a lot of these guys are actually pretty darn even, and it really comes down to track position to start your night off right. Once you get into a rhythm, it's easier to stay up in the front, so we'll see how he can do coming from the back there.
Yeah, something to look forward to as the practice session is now over, and we're going to head down near LSRTV's starting grid here in just a few moments. 100 laps here at the Lanier Raceplex, Lanier National Speedway, whichever name you want to call it, but Raceplex, of course, sounds more fancy. So 17 cars here set to grid, and we'll be heading down that grid now. So starting in the front row will be Kenny Kibbe in first place, and the number 14 car starting to his outside is going to be Jay Harned in position number 2. Starting off in row number 2 in third place is going to be Mark Herzog, and Mike Holloway starts in 4th place on to his outside. Rounding out the top 5, I should say, starting in 5th, it's going to be Stefan Alphonse, very well-known name, and definitely no lack of entertainment in the process. He will start 5th. 6th place, Donnie Moore. Jared Shepard starts 7th. 8th, Todd Liston. 9th, Lowell Jewell. And 10th, Eric Nordhoff.
Starting in 11th tonight will be John Holcomb in the Planners, number 69. Then Brian Dean to his outside in 12th. Starting in 13th will be Charles Lahr. He was quickest in practice. Then it's Charlie Kuzma in the number 16, starting 14th. John Hain starts in 15th. Kurt Smith to his outside in 16th. And rounding out the entire field here tonight will be Wade Gladstone in the number 01.
So one more caution lap, one more pace lap, I should say, remains here. So just a few more moments until we get underway here for the 100 lap event here. Again, Lanier Raceplex watching the Bootleg Racing League Outlaw Modified Series, the second to last race of the season. Next week we head to New Smyrna, but first we have to get through this race. Pace car is off and the green flag is out. Kenny Kibbe is down and away.
The 14 has a pretty good lead through turns 1 and 2, but the 57 of Mark Herzog is right on his bumper. Backs off a little bit out of 2, didn't quite get a run on him.
Yeah, not a lot of a run. Side by side for 3rd place now, pretty much 2 by 2 on back from 3rd place. Right now, side by side is going to be Jay Harnett. Well, now he's up to 3rd, falling back on the outside. It's going to be that 44 of Jay Harnett in that neon green car, and he gets turned in the middle of turns 3 and 4. And caution is out. Luckily, a one-car incident. Unfortunately, though, he got turned by number 31 of Holloway.
And I think there was a little more contact right after that. It sounded like a couple of incidents a little later on, maybe with the 6. And yeah, the 6 of Kurt Smith got tagged. But yeah, Jay Harnett really lucky, to not have been hit right there, Gary. That could have been really bad. A car spinning out in the front in front of the entire field on lap number 2.
Yeah, that was a very, very great avoidance by everybody. So, of course, another fantastic update to iRacing as well as the Bloom update. So we can actually, well, now we can see the caution lights a lot more than ever. So in this case on the, let's see, just say the pace car, the top of the pace car, you can see the light reflection from the headlights. And of course, the very top of the pace car now, the beautiful reflection, if you will, the yellow lights, it just looks absolutely amazing. And oh, I've been loving this ever since this came out. And in fact, I took a screenshot of the pace car. It just looks so good.
Yeah, it really has helped make the sim look a lot better, and not that we'll see the grass update, but as far as particle effects in general, a lot of things have been changed, and if we get a couple of big spins rather, with a lot of smoke that is produced, we'll be able to see just how the smoke has changed as well, because that's a lot better looking, yeah, in addition to everything they've done, so it's looking very good.
Yeah, pace car lights are out, unfortunately, but on the bright side, headlights are on, even though the track is very well lit. Gotta be safe eventually, so, or have to be safe anyway. So heading through turns 3 and 4 now, going to be that Ford Mustang GT pace car. Kenny Kibbe still leading the field. To his outside is going to be Mark Herzog. He's going to be down in the way. Kenny Kibbe gets a great jump, and right behind him is Stefan Alphonse.
Alphonse with a couple of big moves on the back end of Kibbe, giving him the bumper, and that's one thing these guys will do. They're very clean about it, but they will definitely lay the bumper to a guy and try and move them out of the way. You saw that from Alphonse there, that first lap after that restart.
Yeah, Alphonse was not afraid to use the bumper, and of course these things are very, very reinforced, so it was going to take a lot to get these cars damaged, and now Mark Herzog trying to get up to 3rd, almost hitting the wall off of turn number 4. Inside of him is the 26 of Donnie Moore, and just running right behind them, the 98 of J.R. Shepard. He's won 4 races so far. And of course, Lowell Jewell broke that little 4-race streak that J.R. Shepard had, or in this case 2 races, but still trying to battle on the outside is Mark Herzog, but he's falling back eventually as of right now.
And you know, Gary, Lowell Jewell could be a pretty cool story to cover real quick, considering he's back in the 10th position, working on making up some time here, and it really just, I guess if we follow this 5-car throughout the night, we'll see just that dynamic of trying to work through the field. Even though you won last week, you really have a big setback at the starts of these races, but if you just keep with it, you can make up a lot of ground. So I think we can maybe cover that throughout the race, but lap 12 of 100, and these guys are looking pretty clean so far.
Yeah, just one caution so far, and ultimately, not eventually, as finally now I've gotten my words correct. It looks like the number 98 of J.R. Shepard will fall ahead into 4th position, and I'm pretty sure that Mark showed him the bumper just ever so slightly in turns 3 and 4. Of course, trying to find some way back around, side-by-side battle for position number 9. Lowell Jewell, like you mentioned, is now slowly starting to move his way up. It's pretty early on in this race right now as we just get to lap 15, almost making contact there on the front straightaway, but right now I'm pretty sure Jewell really wants to take his time as of right now.
Yeah, and if the viewers think back to last week at South Boston, the top line seemed to really come in. I know the 44 round, that's Jay Harned. That's definitely got to be a caution here in a moment. He was almost on top of another car. No caution yet. And there we get it. Jay Harned around and has the 16 with him. That is Charlie Kuzma.
Oh, no.
And that's the 75 involved as well, John Hain.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate that everybody was running that line, so it actually started that entire debacle of an incident there up on your screen. Still going to take a look back at that. So, Andrew, go ahead and walk us through that if you can.
Yeah, Gary, as we get the replay up on your screen, you'll see Charlie Kuzma just makes a little bit of left rear contact with Jay Harned, and that spins the 44 round. They both come to a stop, and then they actually get pretty much clobbered from Wade Gladson and the 22 of, I believe, Nordhoff. Yeah, and they're spun out in turn number 4. It takes a while, actually, for the caution to come out, so I think a lot of these lead guys didn't know they were parked there, and that's, I think, what we saw with the 75 there of John Hain. He came around turn number 4, didn't know they were there, and just got in it.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate that John Hain got a huge piece of that in the process, but of course, the only reason I can think that the caution wasn't thrown immediately was that, well, it's at the back of the field for one, but for another thing, it was near the bottom of the racetrack below that yellow line, so essentially that's the caution line, if you will. That's one thing that I could call it, as if you're below that line, you spin out there, well, caution's not really going to be coming out. But the caution did come out, ultimately a little bit too late for John Hain, though. He couldn't really move out of the way, unfortunately, so hopefully for him, he can get back up to where he was running in at the time, as there is one fast repair available that he could use if he does choose to do so. So hopefully it looks like he possibly has, or he just hasn't gotten any damage from that.
Yeah, it's a good call there. I was checking that myself, and like you mentioned, they have one fast repair, but they can't take tires, so a little bit of an interesting dynamic there. But as we get ready to restart here, Kenny Kibbe on the front row, Stefan Alphonse, one of the fastest guys on the back end of that 14. We'll see what he can do from the outside. I was mentioning at South Boston last week, the top side was best, but here, it's all going to be about the bottom line here, Gary.
Yeah, Andrew, this low line is usually the best and most preferred lane. Charlie Kuzma is going to get going out of the pit road after using his fast repair. Pace car ready to pull off. Kenny Kibbe, Stefan Alphonse on the front row, putting the bumper already. It's going to be Donnie Moore to Kenny Kibbe as they head back into turns 1 and 2.
Donnie Moore using that advantage of being right behind the leader to get up on the 14, try and use his bumper to get by, couldn't do it. He's going to settle for 3rd for now, and here comes J.R. Shepard. He wants to get into this lead battle. He's now in 4th.
And Jared Shepard and Mark Hertog positions 4th and 5th right now, and Stefan Alphonse trying to hang on to that 2nd place position on the outside. A little bit of a stack up in the back, it appears, and Charles Lahr trying to hold off that 69 of John Holcomb, and he does. He'll get by for position number 6, and still side by side now for 3rd as Alphonse is trying to defend that position.
And now the 13 falls victim to the 26 of Donnie Moore. Here comes J.R. Shepard now, keeps Alphonse up on that top lane, and you see J.R. Shepard using that apron just a little bit, de-gludging the car, gaining some turning force, I guess, in that 98, and getting off the corner pretty quickly. It's really helping that 98 out right now, and I'm sure more of these guys will catch on. Want to quickly go back to the Lowell Jewell story for a moment, and he's 8th and a caution out on the track.
And unfortunately, that is a 75 of John Hain in turns 1 and 2. Looks like, well, unfortunately, it's just maybe a miscommunication in terms of car placement here. And yeah, that's essentially all that it was, as Wade Gladson, unfortunately, was already on the inside of John Hain, or at least looking to the inside of John Hain at the time. Here comes the replay, and, well, John Hain, unfortunately, just went down in front of Gladson and got himself turned.
Yeah, Hain was just following his own line into the corner, and Gladson, I think, thought he could shoot a shot right there and just get down to the inside of Hayne. It's just tried a bold move. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but I think that's one of the smaller incidents that could have happened, I guess, from that kind of situation. So they kind of avoided big disaster, but still got to be careful of that kind of thing. That 75 is actually a beautiful paint scheme there. Almost got tore up pretty bad.
Yeah, so it's the second time that he's ran into some bad luck within, say, what, about 10 or so laps maybe. So hopefully, again, John Hayne can quickly recover from that. So as of right now, top 5 essentially is Kenny Kibbe, Donnie Moore, J.R. Shepard, Stefan Alphonse, and Mark Herzog. And I'm saying only 2 people that have not started in the top 5 that are in the top 5 now. That's Donnie Moore and J.R. Shepard. They started 6th and 7th respectively, and they're now in positions 2nd and 3rd. So for these two, it's looking to be a good night so far.
And Gary, that goes back to the talk of, you know, the guys who finish up front going to the back half of that top 10 to start the next race. Again, it just comes down to getting through the field, and I think in this sort of a league, they kind of get used to starting off in the back if they're one of the faster guys like J.R. Shepard and Donnie Moore. So I think they're pretty much used to coming to the field like this, doing what they have to do to get up to the front. And I think that's why we're seeing those two especially excel at it. We'll see how Lowell Jewell can tackle that task. He's currently in 8th.
Yeah, Jewell's in 8th, taking his own time, being very cautious, not really risking anything. So essentially 70 laps to go, 69 laps to go. Once we hit the green, pace car pulls off. Kenny Kibbe on the front row, getting the bumper from J.R. Shepard, and the green flag is back out as they head back into turns 1 and 2.
Kenny Kibbe working that bottom side, still has not missed a beat yet on these restarts. Again, he has the help from behind when a car gets into the back of him, and it's going to be Herzog trying to get by Alphonse here. That would be for 4th. J.R. Shepard has already got by. Now he wants to get by, and a big checkup on the bottom side, actually. That actually backed Holcomb up even.
Yeah, it backs pretty much everybody up, but this gives the opportunity to that number 26 of Donnie Moore on the high side, trying to get it around in some way, some fashion, as right now side-by-side battles pretty much all over your entire field here. Everyone trying to scramble for whatever position that they can get from the outside lane. Alphonse battling for 4th, and right now it looks like Donnie Moore's going to be battling for 2nd.
Well, hopefully we just saw that big incident there out of turn number 4. The 26 and the 98 made a little bit of contact down into turn 1. They got through it, though. Everyone handled it pretty nicely, and it's still J.R. Shepard using a lot of that apron, like I mentioned, to try and get that car to turn. Doing a great job of it, though.
Yeah, Shepard's got an amazing handling car as of right now, so at the moment, not really in line for his 5th win as of yet, but he's slowly working towards his way, looking for the inside lane crossover, and he gets to the bumper. Was Donnie Moore from that bump? That was Mark Herzog. He's not afraid to show that he's not really, well, he's not afraid to show that he can use the little bump and run tactic. But John Holcomb also in the process was about to do that, but backed off just a little bit.
And these guys have to be careful, because what they do now in this first half of the race can come back to haunt them later on if they're in the reverse situation. So if Herzog moves that 26 pretty aggressively now, if Moore is behind him later on, wouldn't be surprised if Moore is a little more, I guess, open to the idea of pulling the same move on Herzog.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. Just as a little, well, whatever you can do, I can do better. But for now, 1st and 2nd, they've broken away. And J.R. Shepard and Kenny Kibbe, they've set almost identical lap times, except J.R. Shepard using that apron in turns 2. He's going to, looks like he's in relatively the same line, backing off ever so slightly. But J.R. Shepard has caught up to Kenny Kibbe. The question is when and where he's going to make that move. He keeps looking all over the racetrack.
Well, Shepard's going to make the move between the exit of the corner and the entry. He's got to get to the inside of Kibbe down the straightaways. I'm watching his line, and it's a classic line to enter high, cut low, and get a really good straight line run. It's actually, I believe, what Denny Hamlin elaborated on a couple of years ago at Richmond to help him out in the NASCAR Cup Series. And J.R. Shepard's doing the exact same thing. There he goes to the bottom side, got that great exit, and he gets to the bottom of Kenny Kibbe for the lead.
Yep, side by side for the lead. They make contact coming out turn number 2. Almost getting turned on each other was J.R. Shepard and Kenny Kibbe. But the line is J.R. Shepard at almost halfway, so 56 laps to go. Lap 45 give the lead to the 98 of J.R. Shepard. Now Kenny Kibbe, though, he's going to have to find the point of attack, and these two drivers are side by side essentially for a lap, but that's pretty much caught them back up to, no, never mind, there goes Lanier. He gets turned as Mark makes contact with him. Everyone's scrambling, trying to avoid.
Thankfully, I think most of the field got by, but big implications up at the front of the field here for Donnie Moore and more, as Herzog gets into the left rear of the 26 and spins him right around.
Yeah, it looks like the biggest contact out of all of them was John Holcomb hitting the back bumper of the 57 when they checked up. So, and of course, Stefan Alphonse got a piece of that in the process of attempting to avoid that. A small piece, essentially. Maybe he avoided it just ever so slightly. Nonetheless, we are under caution once again, just from a little bit of a real estate issue, but of course it's just, again, just one of your usual racing deals at short tracks.
Yeah, and this falls into kind of the same category, Gary, as Southern National and Bristol, where it's just a big old mixing bowl. This place has pretty high banking, actually, and it's literally just a mixing bowl. Everything that goes up must come down, and you got to fight for that bottom lane. So they're really just going to be using the bumper like we've seen them doing. You just got to fight for that bottom, move somebody up if you have to, get to their inside. And I will say, if you can get single file and actually have the room to make to run the line that J.R. Shepard was running, I think that's the best line overall that you can run here right now. It worked out great for his battle with Kenny Kibbe.
Yeah, it did essentially an amazing job for J.R. Shepard to get up to the front. So 51 laps to go. Pace car lights will remain on. So unfortunately, we won't get a 50 lap, essentially a shootout, if you will, but more of a even spread. So going to be going green the next time by once the pace car lights go out this time. So 49 laps to go. Almost said 41 there. 49 laps to go when we hit the green, and this is just anticipation and wondering if Kenny Kibbe can get back up to the front after on this restart.
You know, it's going to be tough from that outside lane. The car that I would look at here would be John Holcomb. He's kind of a quieter driver in this series, but he's definitely got a lot of speed. He was pretty good last week at Sobo. I would watch for this number 69 to possibly have something here on this restart.
Yeah, John Holcomb is going to be somebody to watch here on this restart. Kenny Kibbe in the process. Pace car goes off, green into the restart zone they go. Green flag is back out, and a slightly even restart from Kenny Kibbe as they head back into turns 1 and 2. Green flag back out, 49 laps to go.
And that right there is why I'm betting on the 69 over the 14. The 69 just got right down to the inside of Kibbe, is able to use that inside line and keep Kibbe on the outside where he can't do anything. He can't get down to the bottom just yet. He might be able to get in front of Lar here behind the 69. That window closes, and it's going to be a rough ride here for Kibbe on back.
Yeah, Kibbe's falling back, trying to hold off that number 4 on the outside lane. That's Charles Lar. Like Andrew mentioned, caution is back out. In the back, heavy contact, and a lot of drivers involved. Wade Gladson is one of them, and I think that 44 of Jay Hartnett just barely came up on the tail end of that wreck. And essentially, oh, sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll get the replay up on your screen now, and it's really just a kind of a chain reaction here. It's one of those things that you get at a mixing bowl like this, and if you, I guess, reference back to the early 2000s at Bristol in the NASCAR series, you'll know what I mean. Just a small bit of contact there with the 01 and the 57. It just turns into this chain reaction with the 26 of Donnie Moore getting involved, and Jay Hartnett had to completely stop to avoid it.
Yeah, Jay Hartnett luckily managed to avoid that, but again, it was essentially the same thing, just another racing deal. But unfortunately, it's just that you're trying to get in that space so quick, and you're in the moment, and you're trying to find that hole, you go for it, and unfortunately, that just closes up right at the wrong moment, and you end up turning the driver that's right in front of you, unfortunately. So it's quite unfortunate that that happened, and we're back under caution again, but this time, looks like we have positions 2 and 3 swapped. So John Holcomb now is going to be starting on the outside. Kenny Kibbe starting on the inside. Maybe Holcomb can somehow find the momentum and stick with J.R. Shepard on the outside. But ultimately, like you've been mentioning, Andrew, is that this inside lane is basically the preferred lane around this track.
You're exactly right, Gary. Now I would watch for Kenny Kibbe to maybe use the bumper on J.R. Shepard if he has the chance to do so and do so cleanly. I would not put it past any of these guys to do it, you know, coming down to the end of the season, trying to make up some points. As I reference back to the point standings, actually, J.R. Shepard is your points leader. Then it goes to Alphonse and Kuzma. But Kibbe is actually tied for 3rd with Charlie Kuzma. So honestly, I would not put it past Kenny Kibbe right now to try and use the bumper, try and gain some valuable points on J.R. Shepard. Even if he just moves him up into the outside lane, doesn't make the pass right away, he can try and shuffle that 98 back and really move him back in the field that way.
Yeah, it's just all something that the bumpers make some exciting short track racing for. So doubled up lights are out on the pace car, and the anticipation sets back in. The adrenaline slowly raises up, and essentially we're going to go back green, and pace car pulls off. J.R. Shepard down and away. Everybody else follows suit. John Holcomb tried to get to the inside lane on the restart, couldn't get it to happen.
Kenny Kibbe with a really poor restart. Holcomb might be able to slot in second on the bottom side. Now he can't, but Kibbe still with a really poor restart there. Going to have a long way to go to try and climb back up to Shepard. Now Alphonse looking to the inside of Charles Lahr, looking for fourth. He's going to get it out of turn number 2.
Yeah, and oh, near contact with the number 4. Charles Lahr tried to slot in front of the 5 of, hey, guess who, Lowell Jewell. But unfortunately, that just didn't happen as the hole closed way too quick, and a little bit of a shot from the driver behind. That's a 31 of Holloway. Action all over the track. Battle for third right now as Holcomb is trying to hold off Alphonse for third.
You mentioned Lowell Jewell. He's back into the top 5 and looking for more. He has the chance to get up underneath this 69 car of Holcomb and look for that 4th position, but if a caution comes out, he would then restart on the top side. So Lowell Jewell has to really be careful about what he's going to do next. Does he want to go for 4th and risk a caution coming out, putting him on the top side, or will he stay in 5th? And now it looks like he's going to go for 4th.
Yeah, he's on the inside of Holcomb right now, coming after number 4, and Lowell Jewell will get that position heading into turns 1 and 2. Holcomb trying to defend on the outside lane, but essentially it's like cup cars at Daytona or pretty much a super speedway race. You get pretty much freight train on the inside, and well, speaking of that, I think Lowell Jewell almost got forced up, and following and straight through is that 31 of Mike Holloway.
And this whole top 3 is pretty spread out now all the way back to Lowell Jewell, considering Alphonse is a little ways ahead of him. Then you go further forward to get to Kenny Kibbe, and then even further forward to get to J.R. Shepard. So this top 3 really spread out, and that's really, I think, going to hurt the excitement factor for the rest of this race, but it really shows just who the heavy hitters are. This is 3 of the top 4 drivers in the points battling in the top 3 right now.
Yeah, ultimately it's a battle for points, and also a battle for pretty much saying, hey, guess who's better than you at this race or this track. But right now that battle for 4th is still bringing Holloway peaks to the inside of Jewell, and he's going to get that line to stick. So now that number 5 of Jewell is trying to defend, and he does. He gets clear for a second down the back straightaway, but Mike Holloway sticking that inside lane, and here comes the number 4 of Charles Lahr right in the back bumper.
Yeah, Lowell Jewell looks to be fast, but not fast enough. It looks like he's a little too snug right now, running a bit of a higher line even before he got passed up by Holloway. So I think that 5 just isn't quite hitting his marks quite right. Lowell Jewell going to have to work on that the rest of the race, but we're already almost into the last quarter of this thing. There's almost contact made there between Lahr and Jewell, but the top 5 now moving in the wrong direction after getting up to 4th position. And now in the wall, hard.
Oh, there goes
Charles Lahr contact. He spins back in front of the field.
And somehow everybody manages to avoid him and each other, I believe. My goodness, that was interesting, but also quite unfortunate that Charles Lahr, he got the worst end of that. And I think just ever so slightly somebody got a piece of that. I think it may have been the 87 of Todd Liston.
And the replay will show you that, but man, what a bullet dodged for Lowell Jewell. Even though he was the one that got into the wall and then got into Charles Lahr, that could have been a lot worse. Thankfully, he didn't go spinning as well, or we could have had a really big incident on our hands. But really, there's something to be said for that NASCAR 08 wreck avoidance, I guess, skill set that you get when you're back on PS2 10 years ago. But no, those guys did a really great job of missing him.
Yeah, that was amazing avoidance by everybody. So everyone going to catch up to the pace car right now. So under caution once again. Essentially could be getting a 33 or so lap shootout, depending on when the lights on the pace car go out. So just a bit of effect on the number 25. Sorry, 25 laps to go actually.
Yeah, we're now into the last quarter of this race, Gary, and things are only going to pick up from here. We'll have to see if anyone can even challenge J.R. Shepard. I think he's almost about to walk away with this one, but You know, obviously Stefan Alphonse is going to be very aggressive on this restart, and I'd imagine he'll lean on that rear bumper of the 98 modified right there just a little bit, try and work on something there, but this will be an exciting restart. This is where things start to pick up.
Yeah, this is where the excitement kicks in, and of course I apparently somehow cannot do so much as basic laps to go counting. So just as a quick reminder, we're going to see when the pace car lights go out. They go out this time by, so now side by side will be J.R. Shepard and Kenny Kibbe, Mike Holloway on the outside, and Stefan Alphonse on the inside. On the inside lane, though, in fifth, it's going to be Lowell Jewell. And that's the line that he wanted to stay on, and that's what he got. So, like Andrew mentioned, that's the preferred lane that he wants to stay on. Pace car pulls off. In control of the field is J.R. Shepard. Down in the way are the entire top three. A nice small breakaway for a moment. Back into turns 1 and 2.
Alphonse thought about giving the 98 a shot, thought better of it, backed out a little bit. Now it's going to be Lowell Jewell on his back bumper. Almost contact made. There's someone grinding their tires on this track further on back in the field, but up in the front, a very clean race start despite being now in the last quarter of this race. 20 laps to go in just one more lap.
Oh,
contact, and that's right from the entire field. Somehow, no caution.
No, never mind.
Now John Hayne goes around. The 6 involved as well. No caution yet. That was Kurt Smith in the 6th. He's backing up. He's getting back going a little bit slowly, but I think we're green, actually. I think we're going to stay green.
That was essentially an entire lap of a caution that should have happened, but somehow did not. So now so far, Kenny Kibbe, actually, he saved his car. So that caused everybody to get spread out as of right now. So this gives J.R. Shepard a nice little bit of a buffer for his lead. Mike Holloway has a great buffer for third place, which is now being taken over by John Holcomb as he gets to the inside.
And that really shook everything up, considering there were a couple of big wrecks right there, but no caution as these guys get back into it. You mentioned Holcomb fighting back for third. He's still on the inside of Alphonse there. Got to clear him finally out of turn 4 that time by now it looks like about 17 laps to go for these guys, and Lowell Jewell fighting tooth and nail to stay in front of Kenny Kibbe.
Yeah, so Lowell Jewell, again, like you mentioned, trying to stay in front of Kenny Kibbe. He's in the top 5, and somehow Kenny Kibbe actually, he managed to save that. So that was a great job by Kibbe in that 14. He looks to the inside for that 5th place position, entering turns 3 and 4. Pretty much the only battle within the top 5, if you will. So it looks like Lowell is going to let him by and attempt to cross over this next lap.
Further back, I just do want to mention Brian Dean, who worked his way up into 7th by way of that big shakeup a couple of laps ago. John Hayne also now into the top 10. He's 8th. Wade Gladstone in the 9th position. Mark Herzog is falling back to 10th, but a big shakeup there. Some of the guys that started 12th on back now into the top 10. Big nights for them shaping up.
Yeah, these guys have gotten a great advantage out of that. A bit of a shakeup. Some have not, and one of those drivers is Kenny Kibbe, but especially J.R. Shepard and John Holcomb, but Shepard with the most, as he's got a 2nd+ lead over Mike Holloway, who's just riding in 2nd, and right now John Holcomb may be trying to find some kind of momentum for 2nd place, but at the moment this could be it.
Yeah, and what a big comeback there from Mike Holloway. He started 4th, then fell way back in those initial few restarts and was starting to fight his way back into the top 5, racing with Lowell Jewell. Now he's in 2nd place, looking at a podium finish, a top 2 finish at that. And if something were to happen to J.R. Shepard, we could be talking about Mike Holloway in victory lane here tonight, but it's going to take a lot to mess that 98 up that much. But either way, a big night shaping up for him as well.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned, it's going to take a lot to shake up that 98 while just ever so slightly faster, about 1/100th faster, was Mike Holloway the last time around. It could be something, but essentially all it is just keeping these drivers essentially the same distance they are from each other. So Holcomb set the fastest lap last time around, about 1/10 faster than both of these front 2 runners.
Gary is the last one down. We've got an exciting battle back here for 7th place. It's John Hayne and Brian Dean. These two guys started a little ways back, 12th and 15th, but they are fighting tooth and nail to get up into the 7th position. Dean had it for a while, then John Hayne decided he wanted to go to the inside and try and take it away. And there's side-by-side contact there from the 75 to the 23. That's going to be big for John Hayne to see if he can hang on to it.
That's just good hard racing right. Goodness, good hard racing right there as my voice breaks somehow. So John Hain, throughout all this bad luck that he's had throughout this entire race, 5 laps to go, and he's up in 7th at the moment. Maybe that could change between now and then, but that's just something that we'll have to wait for and figure out in due time. So this time by, it's going to be 4 laps to go for J.R. Shepherd. All he has to do is just click away the laps and be smooth and easy, and these laps go away very quickly, roughly about 13.5 seconds.
And now 3 laps to go. This place is just over 1/3 of a mile. So very, very short track here at Lanier. And he's going to come around to take 2 laps to go now. Popsicle sticks in the air for J.R. Shepherd.
Yeah, 2 more laps for Shepherd, and all he has to do is just bring it home 2 more times, or at least bring it around 1.5 more times at this rate. So Mike Holloway and John Holcomb at this rate will be 2nd and 3rd. Coming out to number 4, white flag for the 98 of J.R. Shepherd. He's had a great race start, 6 positions back in position number 7, but now quickly down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4. Off turn number 4, your winner at Lanier Raceplex is going to be the 98 of J.R. Shepherd.
And what a run it was for him, leading a lot of laps once he got by Kenny Kibbe. Coming home 2nd is Mike Holloway. A great run for him. Then John Holcomb in 3rd. Likewise, a great run for him as well. Stefan Alphonse settles for 4th. Kenny Kibbe 5th. Lowell Jewell 6th.
We'll be heading down your results pretty much as of right now. But first, I think J.R. Shepherd is, well, in a way you can see the new smoke effects right there as J.R. Shepherd slightly burns it down in turns 3 and 4, and he will park it in victory lane. Perfect parking right there by Shepherd. So going down your results before we head to your interviews, finishing in 1st place is, of course, J.R. Shepherd after starting in 7th from that 10-car grid invert. Mike Holloway finishes 2nd. 3rd, John Holcomb 11th to 3rd. Amazing night for him. Stefan Alphonse finishes 4th. 5th, Kenny Kibbe, after getting loose, almost getting turned actually, and managing a great save. But of course that shook up the entire rest of the field. So Lowell Jewell finishes in 6th. 7th, John Hain. Brian Dean finishes 8th. 9th, Mark Herzog. And finishing in the top 10 is Jay Harned.
And finishing 11th, just outside that top 10. He started 17th. It's Wade Gladstone. We saw him get in a lot of trouble this race in a couple of instances, but he also made a pretty good comeback at 01. Just had some bad luck tonight, but fought back. Then it's Eric Nordhoff. Didn't hear much of him tonight in the number 22. He started 10th, finished 12th. Then it's Donnie Moore. Some really bad luck there. He finishes 13th. Todd Liston 14th. Kurt Smith finishes 15th. Then it's Charlie Kuzma, one of the championship battling drivers, going to fall way back in points. He finishes 16th, followed up by Charles Lahr, rounding out your field.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Charles Lahr to finish there, but unfortunately, you don't win them all. So, of course, hopefully Charles Lahr can recover from that the next week at New Smyrna. So, of course, we will be heading to your top 3 interviews here in just a few moments after this. So, don't go away. You are watching you were watching essentially the Bootleg Racing League Outlaw Modified Series. Your top 3 will be interviewed after this.
When I was 16 years old, I was working in a Goodyear tire store.
All right,
my
cool.
boss actually built a
Quick race.
street stock
That was great. What was that? Essentially 30
Went
minutes.
with him one night, fell in love with it. It was a hell of a race, hell of a party, and a big fight afterwards. I was like, this is it. This is it for me. It wasn't long after that, I was driving an old 78 Camaro out of the weeds at that guy's farm. We pulled that thing out and made a race car out of it, and away we went. You know, I think a driver has more to do with the equation going back and racing dirt, whether it's a modified, a late model. You can do more with the race car. You know, the harder you drive it, a lot of times, the better it goes. You can crawl up on that wheel and feel like you made the difference at the end of the night. Asphalt car, you can't overdrive them. Well, that was the first thing that I had to learn right off the bat is, oh my gosh, I've got to discipline myself, not overdrive this thing, and that's how you get the most out of it. Truth be told, communicating the right information to your crew and your crew chief so they can do their job and make their appropriate adjustments for you to go faster and do your job is probably 90% of the game in our world. I've always loved late models. You know, my dream was to be a late model driver driving for a living across the country like Daryl and Don do that drive for me. I mean, that was, truth be told, that was my dream, you know. I always wanted a semi. I always wanted a stacker trailer with 2 hot rods in it and let's go racing. Let's take off with your buddies and go race and chase that dream. Never in a million years did I think it would turn into a Cup Series, and I actually have an opportunity to own 2 you know, dirt late model teams. When you think of iRacing, you don't think of a video game.
Welcome back to LSRTV and iRacing Live. After an exciting finish here at the Bootleg Racing League Outlaw Modified Series, J.R. Shepard comes home with the win. So, win number 5 for J.R. Shepard after having his winning streak essentially broken almost twice. But I noticed a little bit of a pattern for you, Mr. Shepard, that you've won 2 races. It was broken by Stefan Alphonse. You won another 2 races on Memorial Day, and then it was broken by Luell Jewell, and then you have won your 5th race. Continuing the pattern, will we see you win New Smyrna next week? Because that was essentially an exciting race and a great performance you put on here tonight.
Yeah, it'd certainly be great to do that. New Smyrna's a great track, fun to race on. You got a little bit of room and some multiple grooves to work with. So yeah, I look forward to that next week, and we'll see what we can do.
So for tonight, I'm pretty sure that you did an amazing job as well, managing to catch up to Kenny Kibbe and also pass him in the process, with about on pretty much lap 45 taking over that lead and held it in control ever since then. But for that little bit of a stack up, if you will, a major stack up after number 4, I'm pretty sure that helped you a lot in the process for winning this race as well.
Yeah, last week I tried to be drive a little safe and be careful and just try to get a good finish, and it didn't work out. So this week I decided it was best to just go for it, and when I saw the opportunity to get around Kenny, I went for it. And I hate that he ended up getting in an accident and falling back a few positions, because he definitely had a fast car, and was looking forward to racing with him at the end there.
Well, you definitely picked your passing opportunity at the correct point. So for win number 5 here at Lanier Raceplex, who would you like to thank for finishing in this position tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to definitely give a shout out to Luell Jewell and the Bootleg Racing League for putting this on for everybody. We've got a great group of drivers here that are really competitive and love racing, so it's great to have that. And yeah, we'll go to New Smyrna next week and see what we can do.
Well, we're going to go ahead and let you go. Congratulations once again on getting win number 5.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
So that was J.R. Shepard, and standing by with your 2nd place finisher is Andrew Carnelli with Mike Holloway.
Well, Mike Holloway, it was a great run for your pretty much literal ray of sunshine, number 31 car. It was a really good comeback, actually. You started to get shuffled back early in the race, came back to finish 2nd. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, it was actually kind of more or less just an uneventful race. I felt like I was fast from the get-go, but those first several restarts, I kept getting stuck on the outside, and you just can't really do much of anything out there. You can hang on, but you're not going to make any headway on it. So finally got to a point where I could restart on the inside and started clicking them off then.
Yeah, we mentioned how, you know, this race this week at Lanier and last week's race at Sobo were pretty much polar opposites as far as how racy the track is, considering you can normally wear in that top side just enough to get it to work by the end of the race. You can't do that here at Lanier unless it's dirt. You can't use that outside line on pavement, and it really showed tonight where you guys were stuck on that bottom side, and if you weren't able to restart down there, you were going backwards. And it really showed as, again, you got stuck back there for a little while, but came back through the field. You paddled to full Little Jewel to get back into the top 5, and eventually coming home second place. You're not exactly in the immediate talks for the championship, but I would say this is really going to help trying to close out your season on a good note.
Yeah, it'll help close out on a good note, but I haven't really been concerned about points this season. I think I've missed 3 or 4 races, so, realistically, if I could just salvage the best finish I can, I'll be happy.
Yeah, and it's certainly going to look that way. I mean, you have Matt Shanosky in front of you who didn't race tonight, and you even got Donnie Moore who finished way in the back tonight. A lot of points to be made up right there. It looks like you're going to make up a lot of points with that number 31. But before we let you go and talk to third place, who do you have to thank for that big run in your number 31 car?
Well, got sporting some new colors tonight. I really like this car with Sunny D, so got to thank them for coming on board, and got to thank Lowell for putting on a good show for us.
10-4, man, thanks for your time, Mike, and hopefully we're talking to you next week as well.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
Now on down to Gary Weaver with our third place finisher.
Yeah, we are here with third place finisher John Holcomb in the number 69. Essentially, somehow I believe avoided that huge mass of everybody scrambling to avoid almost sideways Kenny Kibbe, and well, you found yourself from 11th to 3rd place, John Holcomb, so 8 positions up. That was an amazing performance here by you tonight.
Hey, thanks, Gary. Yeah, I'll take it. It was interesting, but I made it all the way up to 2nd, and then I had to restart on the outside and dropped all the way back to 7th or 8th, I think. And then we got around the Kibbe incident and got us back up there. We just had to keep fighting.
We definitely managed to put up a good fight and stay up there in 3rd place as well, so 2nd to last race in the process. Any thoughts heading into New Smyrna next week?
Yeah, I'm just hoping to have a good clean run like we did this week. I've had a lot of crashes, let's say, this year, and it's kind of kept me down a little bit, so I'm just hoping to have a good run and have some fun out there.
Well, if you do continue the run that you've had from tonight, then it's definitely going to be a wonderful night for you next week at New Smyrna. So, of course, it's very, very interesting. Of course, we had the race with high usage track as well, so I'm pretty sure that, of course, along with the build, may have played into effect for your setup as well in the process.
Yeah, the changes they made to the car, we're still getting used to that, but in general I like the feel of it, but it's going to take a little bit to dial to it.
I did manage to get it dialed just right for a podium finish, so before we let you go, who would you like to give a shout out to for your 3rd place finish tonight?
I'd like to give a shout out to my brother and Pam and my wife Mindy. They support me for doing this, and I want to give a shout out to you guys for what you do covering the races, and a shout out to Lowell and Bootleg, of course. So I hope everybody enjoyed the race.
Well, we certainly did as well, so we are going to go ahead and let you go. Congratulations once again for finishing 3rd, and thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
So that was John Holcomb finishing in position number 3. Andrew, your thoughts on tonight's race?
What a race, and I'm really surprised these guys found it a little bit uninteresting, or I guess uneventful, because it was one more really good race for these guys as they get ready to close out the season. Like I said, kind of a mixing bowl effect where you got to fight for that bottom lane and things can happen really, really quickly, but it was a lot of fun to watch, just as every race here in the Bootleg Modified Series always is.
Yeah, every one of these races are exciting, and of course this just makes me love short track even more. So before we head off, at least for the Bootleg Racing Outlaw Modified Series, we head off to New Smyrna next week, but for now we are going to go ahead and pack it up. So of course we like to thank Jason Allison and iBog.co for his graphical support, the Bootleg Racing League and the Well Jewel for the series, and letting us broadcast their series. And of course, thanks to Drew Addison and the staff behind the scenes at iRacing Live for letting us put this series on iRacing Live, and of course giving this series a little bit of a broader audience in the process. Everyone behind the scenes here at LSRTV, Evan Paseko, Laura Lawson, and DJ Lion. And of course the broadcast crew for tonight, thanks to Corey Silva for stepping into the production trailer once again and pushing the buttons and making you see the picture that you have now, and of course that amazing looking pace car. Thanks for Andrew Cardinelli for joining for co-commentary in the process. And of course, I'm Gary Weaver, and of course, don't forget to follow us on social media by subscribing to our YouTube channel and turning on notifications. And of course, don't forget to like LSRTV on Facebook, facebook.com/LSRTV official. And don't forget as well to follow us on Twitter at LSRTV. And of course, for a weekly schedule, don't forget to check out livesimracing.com. That is livesimracing.com. I am Gary Weaver, Andrew Cardinelli again on co-commentary, and Corey Silva in the production trailer. We will see you next time. Thank you for watching.